Thank you, everyone. Thank you for everyone coming to this last session. We make it to 2 days. So eventually everyone will be relaxed tonight. Don't worry too much about the coding. Yeah, I guess, yeah. So let's just start from the beginning. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. So last year I presented a presentation about using web components framework called Shoelace in Drupal with single directory components. That was in DrupalSouth Asia NARA. It's basically a practical demo. The demo worked today. I want to talk about what's happened after. Not just whether the component rendered, but also with the future solution, what each part actually serve in Drupal and what it doesn't. A little bit about me. So I work in the Australian public service sector. Have worked with Drupal for around 15 years. Most of my work has involved real Drupal size, modules, themes, support, upgrade, and long-term maintenance. I would not describe myself as only a front-end or back-end developer. I'm more interested in solving the practical issue. My main skill is problem solving, which in Drupal often means clear cache and pretend to think deeply, and then clean the cache again. Anyway, so first presentation, the time the demo was mainly about to provide the web components and the SDC can work together in Drupal. Yes, the demo, the first part, I realized the more useful question was not just can it render. The better question was what's the problem does each part solve. That became a real architecture conversation. Part 2.1, the session explains the first issue. SDC gives the structure, but web components helps with boundary and isolation. Because this from the previous session, I suppose everyone knows web components. So web components is a browser native component. You can actually just it stays in your browser. It doesn't do. You don't need to write actual CSS over there. But anyway, I think my example was how we use web components to do something we really want to use to do. So the starting point was a very practical problem. Last year, I developed a static component use a Bootstrap 4.5. I tested it properly, and itself it works fine. But when I put it in the Drupal side, it's just crashed. It's not really crashed, but so the saving was based on Bootstrap 4. So instead of saving the time, I started spending time adjust CSS. I felt less like doing something right, but more like something peace treaty between Bootstrap 5 and 4. I think I was in the room, people talking about Bootstrap when you like it, or yesterday you like Bootstrap or something else. Yeah, but anyway, we deal with Bootstrap all the time. So SDC solved the important problem. Before SDC component related code could be easily become a sketched cross trick template, libraries, CSS files, and JavaScript files. SDC gives the component a proper home inside Drupal. The template, CSS, JavaScript, and metadata can live together. So SDC help with the structure. It gives Drupal a clear way to organize components-based theming. Yeah, everything talking about SDC. Everyone, today I heard I was in a multiple session about SDC. This was, so basically SDC solves. So SDC gives the boundary, easy to organize, but the component still lives inside the existing front-end environment. If the old theme had Bootstrap 4 styles, global CSS over JavaScript assumption for layout rules, the new components still have to deal with the environment. So SDC gives us a structure, but not enough to isolate. That's where the web components became useful. So what? Okay, so I guess at that time, at that point of the time, I was not trying to rebuild the whole front end. I already had an existing Drupal theme, and it was based on Bootstrap 4. What I really want was a clear boundary. I want a component I could place inside Drupal, customized whether needed, but not have it consistently affected by all the things CSS and JavaScript. Web components helped to become they are based on a browser native standard. That gave me a better starting point than continue to patch the Bootstrap conflicts. So yeah, that's the example. So this is a very typical template. You actually doing the cards, Bootstrap cards, and that's another way you actually can do a native web components cards. That's just an example. Give you a clear source about how you put your components on the page, rather than use traditional Bootstrap class with your cards, with your card component. So this is the problem I wanted to make visible. The first version of the components was building a newer design assumption. It worked in itself, but when it's entered the older Bootstrap 4 Drupal theme, I had to keep adjust the CSS. With web components, the markup became more like a customer element. In this example, SL card, shoelace card give me a clear UI boundary. It does not mean there's no styling work at all, but it's reduced the amount of negotiation with the existing theme. So at this time, I was here, as I mentioned before, I was not looking for another heavy front-end framework. I need a native customer element that I could use inside Drupal and override where necessary. So the hope was that a new component we build could move forward. So basically, I want to build something I can migrate or bring up with me next time when I actually upgrade the theme or upgrade the Drupal system, or something I want to be reusable all the time, rather than always change the Bootstrap after Bootstrap 4 class to be applies to get latest Bootstrap version. So that's pretty much while jumping of web components. So that's actually a screenshot shows the kitchen sink page from the previous demo presentation with several shoelace elements included. So basically that was just an example. So come to the question right now, because I'm talking about web components, I'll just give a quick rundown about what a shoelace. So the section explains why shoelace was very useful starting point rather than build a custom web component from scratch. Yeah, I did not really want to create a web components library from scratch. I needed something practical that I can test quickly inside Drupal. Shoelace give me common UI components as web components. Yeah. So I could focus on the Drupal integration rather than first build every component myself. Yeah. So I think I should give you a bit of a base knowledge about the project. So we're not actually for our daily work. We're not actually trying to rebuild everything. So we want to actually build something still shining, but still make something work, and I will eventually can bring up with me for next generation of thing or something. Just because in the government space we don't actually have enough budget, so we probably have to, instead of tell my manager, say, look, we want to upgrade the thing, we want to do the actual job, rather than we get something work and then we put the upgrade work in the future. Well, that's actually the purpose of why we actually try to using some cutting edge technology into something we need some time to upgrade the system. So that's where the shoelace come in. Shoelace is very useful because it's a framework independent, so the component can be used differently environment. It's basically ignore whether you use React or Vue or even plain HTML or Drupal template. It's designed to customize, or rather than force every project to look exactly the same. The matter to me, because I was not trying to create a separate front-end application, I just want a practical component layer, web components layer that could be plugged into Drupal. So that's why SDC and web components mix together. So basically, once I set up the SDC structure, I can put my web components, web components component in the SDC structure. So that actually works perfect as it is. So the next three slides I tell you, just give you these three slides I copied from previous presentation. Just give you a general ideas how we're going to do this. Basically, so it's a web component structure. You actually have different parts. So basically, you can actually override the cards parts. Just use normal CSS, but because this stay with web components, you will never override by your existing CSS style. So this just tells you basically how you actually put the web components in your template. So the QR code is actually my code base. There's more example over there. So, but that's come from previous presentation. Okay, so that's my first session. That's my first presentation, the time I did last year. But then what's gonna be happen next? So we have very small web teams. We have 5-6 publishers. So we do, there's one technician in this team have to do lots of things. I really want to, the practice way is we want to actually, the publisher or site builder get into the project to do something rather than waiting for developers to develop a new feature. So we do actually have lots of demanding from the web team. Say someone want to sit there, just say, look, I want to know exactly how the thing works. How can I, jump in the site build side to do the job? So that's actually next card is. So far, the first part is of the developers facing problem. It helped me organize the components and reduce the conflicts with the old theme. But after that, the question changed again. And if we want to keep it going in the direction, can the publisher and the site builders actually use these components? Or do they still need to wait for a developer every time they want to test, place, and demonstrate one component or something? That's where the layout builder enters the story. I think that's, to be honest, that's just a practical solution for our work situation. But this morning they talk about the canvas. I think the layout builder is similar as
Canvas, but Canvas is more interactive, I guess. But this way, site builder is actually in a Drupal core right now. But I think the talk is focused on we try to solve the issue rather than jump in a new solution. Some to the face. So yeah, so the section moves from the developer facing components to site builder facing authoring. So we are a very small team. So a developer can create a component library, but someone still need to show it, expand it, place it, and configure it. If every small demo or layout changes need a developer, the components the component is technically usable, but not a practical usable. So the next question is about authoring. How do we let site builder use these components safely through the Drupal? That's why layout builder come in. So layout builder is very useful. It moves the component into site building experience instead of asking developers to hard code every layout changes. Site builders can place approved blocks, arrange content visually. It does not remove the developer's work, but it changes the kind of work devs doing. And developer build and govern the system. Site builders use the system to assemble the page. That will be perfect. Anyway, site builder solve the page assembly problem. It gives the site builders a practical way to use approve the building blocks in a real page. This important because a component library is only useful if people can actually use that. I'll test that in the content. So layout builder helps move the components from the something in the code to something a site builder can do. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, the magic work is when you start using layout builder is very powerful. But the question is, you build a component, how are you going to map the component into the Drupal? So yeah, so in the traditional way, in my way, the way we're talking about, not the canvas way, layout builder. So we probably have to use block or paragraph. So yeah, so layout builder helps build blocks. So let's jump in the block. The block became a bridge. So the web component gives front-end elements. SDC template maps partially Drupal content into that elements. So the block gives the layout builder something to place. So the blocks is where the Drupal authoring experience start to meet component architecture. So that's the example we define in the cards. We actually did in a previous section. We do actually have components called a shoelace card. So we have to build a custom block for that. With the custom block, you have variant to map each of the parts. That's it. I think that's pretty much, you basically use the block to actually map everything in a component. This section explains why the block need to, so it's actually quite obviously, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Basically, when we talk about the block and when we talk about fields, we actually have to, that's actually Drupal, native Drupal. This section blocks needs fields. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, so blocks still need fields to organize, to do that things. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Yeah. Okay. I think on this stage we got everything ready. Every architecture we ready to go. I certainly build a module with the custom block and then make sure the field actually match to component parts. That's actually custom module to handle the logic behind. But on this stage, I did everything. But what's next? What's the puzzle? What's the next puzzle? The next puzzle is if I actually have to make this Drupal native practice, can I patch that with my module? I think everyone knows right now because everyone talk about recipe. So yeah, recipe. So yeah, how we actually, my question is how we can package everything together with my module. So that's recipe coming. So I'm guessing this morning they're talking about it. You can replace the install a profile with recipe to build a site, but recipe very useful also can package your configuration with your module. So for example, if you actually, your dependency is it's a field, it's a configuration, certainly recipes is a great way to make sure the paragraph or your block field ready before or after you turn on module. So that's recipe. Recipes solve the different kind of problem. They are not the component itself. They are set up around the component. The setup matters because it's the difference between made work once and then we can repeat this pattern. So for me, recipe make reusable components feel more realistic in Drupal. We're not only handing over UI code, we are creating repeatable Drupal feature patterns. That's actually an example. The custom module provide a shoelace block integration. The recipe apply the setup. It installs the module and import a selected configuration, such as the block, type, and the field. So the module provides the behaviors and Drupal integration. The recipe makes the setup reusable. All right, so on this stage, what I'm talking about, everything I put it in the end is, I'm telling you right now, I'm not doing anything strange. Everything is actually in Drupal. Yes, approaching the connection each part of the Drupal elements or architectures. So far, everything we're talking about is coming from code. So the first part of the demo about SDC. SDC gives us the boundary, clear way to connect Drupal with modern front-end technology, including web components. Drupal now gives us a tool to package the related parts together, the components, the block, the field, the layout experience, and the recipe. That means we can make the site more flexible for site builders, but still keep on the governance and the consistency. Yes, so everything we're talking about now. So another direction I'm talking about this, another module I was looking at it, but I didn't spend too much time on that. So another direction I was looking at a content template. So far we have talked a lot, but the author sometimes still need more, something one level higher, a starting pattern. For example, a campaign page or landing page may use several approved components together. If the content template can help the package those authoring patterns, it may reduce glue code practice and makes the site building experience smoothly. But so basically, as I said, I didn't spend time on that, but I do have my team members' request to say, look, can I do some development work without writing any piece of code? So that's actually a real request from my colleague. So come to the end. I have talked about lots of things, I guess. Try to make the test more simple for people to understand. My daily work is actually, I have to deal with lots of site builders, publishers. So why I'm sitting here to talk about we can practice Drupal in this way or give the direction is somehow as a single developer sitting in a desk. Most time you feel like you want to do something more useful rather than just fixing bugs or fixing CSS. I know there's lots of CSS talented people around, but certainly I'm not good at doing CSS fixing or hotfix or bugs fixing. Yeah. So basically, all the time you spend doing CSS fixing, it's not a pressure happy working. So that's why we're trying to give it a direction and then guide a team, use the Drupal way, practice way to make people working more efficiently. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, the next question is whether that means a few Drupal developers, or I would not very, I would be very happy if the site builder could do more work safely. That means developers spend less time on emergency CSS fixes and one-off layout patches. It gives the developers more time for better engineering, testing, accessibility, automation, platform improvement, and maybe build a design system. So the developer role changes. It does not disappear, and then hopefully less emergency CSS and then JavaScript emergencies and a hotfix things. So that's so the takeaway I have mentioned in my presentation, basically try to repeat again. So the main takeaway for that in this table, each of the parts solve the different problems. SDC helps organize the component inside Drupal. Web components help create a strong boundary from the existing thing. Shoelights give a practical web component library without starting from scratch. Layout Builder helps move the components into authoring experience. Blocks and fields give the component a Drupal content model. Recipe helps package the setup so the pattern become repeatable. The story is not that one to solve everything. The story is about Drupal give us a way to connect this piece into something practical and maintainable. So my closing thought is the demo worked, but the real value is architecture conversation that's come after it. For me, this became a way to think a component by component, and then what does each piece do in this project? What do they still need Drupal around? How do we move from a component demo to something site builder can actually use? That would be my continued question in my daily work. I think that's it. Thank you very much.